Good morning, my fellow Malaysians. This is Dr. K.N. Singh again from Johor Bahru with my personal view on our current affairs. I'm really happy to see so many voices and new podcasts and videos, many of them of enlightened Malays. And trust me, there are many, but they would not speak up earlier. As things are going, they realize that if they do not speak up against corruption and in support of the unity government, this country will go from bad to worse. We have realized that the power is actually with the people of Malaysia, and they have only themselves to blame if they do not exercise their voting rights wisely. Change only happens when ordinary people come together and speak about what really matters to them. In a democratic government, we have to talk about and discuss the issues in Parliament and outside Parliament with our members of Parliament who should actually be our mouthpieces in the Parliament. The biggest problem we have is corruption. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim openly discusses it, and unlike previous UMNO government, no attempt is made to sweep it under the carpet. Ironically, all great men have a history of being put in jail. The list that comes to mind includes Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, our own Kirpal Singh, Tan Sri Lim Kit Siang, and finally, the longest serving prison inmate in Malaysia, our Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. I'm sure there is something in the solitude of solitary confinement that changes your thinking. You start thinking, why were you born? What is your purpose in life? Why did you come to this world? I'm sure Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim found this purpose as we can see it in his eyes and the words when he speaks, not only to the Malays, but to all Malaysians. We need to stop thinking of what we can get and start thinking of what we can do for our country, like Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim is doing now. Our Malaysian constitution is very clear about the protection of the Malays and the Malay language. It is also very clear about the 3 R's of race, religion, and royalty. Any attempt to use the 3 R's to divide the country must be dealt with firmly. Our Malaysian constitution is also equally clear about the rights of the non-Malays, as Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim has pointed out in many of his talks. Ustad Hadi and Tun Mahathir keep talking about the rights of the Malay, but ignore the rights of the non-Malays. This is probably because Hadi and Mahathir have never gone to jail. They have never had any solitary confinement to help them clear their minds. Anyone saying what they are saying now would have been in jail already, but these two seem immune to common law. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim is considerate, but looks like they are slowly and surely trying to get themselves jailed by going to court themselves. They both know that Malays are respectful to their elders, kind, caring, and very hardworking. They never want to rock the boat. The Malays are, in my opinion, the best friends one can have, as they understand friendship and brotherhood. They work hard, even though Tun Mahathir calls them lazy. They have just not been given the opportunities. For 22 years, when Tun was the Prime Minister, all the opportunities went to his children and the cronies who supported him and became rich. The Malays were given handouts. It is said, the first time you give something to anybody for free, you create appreciation. The second time you give something to someone for free, you create anticipation. Now, the third time you give something to someone for free, you create expectation. The fourth time you give something to someone for free, you have now created entitlement. By the fifth time, when you give something for free, you have created dependency. Now, if you do not give anything to them for the sixth time, you are now creating resentment and hatred. Now, this is what Tun has been doing all this time for the last 22 years in power. And he's hoping that if Dato Anwar does not do what he has been doing all these years, the Malays will resent him and hate Dato Sri Anwar. This is not true. As we see, Tun has lost his seat and even his deposit. And we see all his candidates in his party have lost their deposits. He's not even an MP now. What could be a greater slap in politics? You tell me, my friend. Once Dato Sri Anwar commented that Malaysia had to bear a great financial burden in the pension for civil servants. Let's look at this very closely and see that the amount paid to civil servants is very little compared to what is paid to politicians. They have made themselves pensionable even though they serve 60 months. And a civil servant has to serve 240 months to qualify for a pension. A cabinet minister's salary is 18,000 ringgit. They also have an entertainment allowance of 10,500, a housing allowance of 10,800, people's allowance of 10,650, also a parking allowance of 10,650. And in addition to this, the government pays 16,000 ringgit per month to 222 members of the Dewan Rakyat and 11,000 to 70 members of the National Assembly. Now you work all this out, my friend. The parking allowance paid to a minister is much higher than that paid to a civil servant whose starting salary is only 1,600. To be an MP, you must have the inclination to serve the country. But now people are becoming members of parliaments to build a privy purse. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim realizes this, and he himself has not taken a salary since he became Prime Minister. He has not even taken the perks of a Prime Minister. He has not taken an official car. He's using a Proton. He has not spent a cent on the renovation of the Prime Minister's house, and every Prime Minister before him spent millions from the taxpayers' coffers. I would urge people to vote for the Pakatan Harapan, which includes the DAP and the Amanah, and the other party perhaps you could consider voting for if you do not vote for the current government is the MUDA. It was YB Said Siddiq who exposed what a minister earns, or we would never have known. Now, if we have a strong federal government, perhaps Malaysia has some hope for the future. For the Pakatan Harapan and component parties to earn the trust and the loyalty of the Malaysian people, they should perhaps come out with the following manifesto that I know all Malaysians will support. Number one, there should be no allowances for politicians once they retire. Number two, there is a fixed salary for their tenure only. No more pensions for politicians, as this is a public service. There must be zero tolerance for corruption, and a special fast-track legal tribunal must be appointed so these cases are settled without delays. A month between appeals is enough. There is no need for years. Justice done must be seen to be done, and it must be done fast. And if this manifesto for the state and the federal governments is put out, I can foresee a very strong government with a 2/3 majority which the people will give them. A word of caution to the political parties: please say what you mean and mean what you say. Do not come out with the manifesto as in 2018 when Tun Mahathir said, we put everything there to help us to win. We never thought PKR would win. I'm leaving you with lots of food for thought, and we all need to make up our minds as to what kind of government we want. If you promise to do the right thing, Put out the right manifesto. The riot promises to support you. Until we meet again, thank you for listening. Please feel free to comment and let's have your views too. And for now, good night, and I'll see you later. Thank you.